Hello, and welcome to another edition of Spooky News from Spooky Ventures. I'm Gary Hill, and I'm your host. Today is Friday the 13th, so it seemed an appropriate date to do our December news episode. Before we get to the news, I need to get the usual reminders out of the way. First, everything about Spooky Ventures, and especially this YouTube channel, is supposed to be interactive, so please interact. You can do that by subscribing to our channel. You can also do that by liking and sharing our videos or commenting on them. You can do all of the above, actually. You can even send us an email at keepitspooky@spookyventures.com. Next up, if you want more information about any of the things we talk about here, there are two places to find that info. You will find all the source and more information URLs as title cards after we're done talking right here in the video. You can also find all of those links in the details section of the video. Now, before I turn things over to our remote reporter, DB Lovecraft, I need to share a couple pieces of news, one of which isn't included in the sources. Actually, neither of which are actually included in the sources. First up, we're going to talk about the prevalence of spooky Christmas events. Here at Spooky Ventures, we've been all about bringing the spooky back into Christmas for years. Both of these items fit into that theme. First, there's a new episode of Spooky Movie Time with Scary Gary that debuted on Tuesday. It's Scary Gary and DB Lovecraft's contribution to the whole concept of spooky Christmas stuff as they show Silent Night, Bloody Night, along with some short pieces and information about the movies and more. A lot of people find it hard to believe, but spooky stories at Christmas was really a thing for many years. Well, it seems the spooky Christmas idea is on the rise again. I say that because we get sent all kinds of news items about horror-based stuff. This year I've been seeing so many more spooky Christmas events all over the country, from haunted houses to scary car washes. It definitely seems to be getting more and more prevalent. I have to say that I love it. Now let's turn things over to DB Lovecraft for some movie news. DB, what news items do you have for us?
Thanks, Gary. Since you included something about the latest episode of Spooky Movie Time with Scary Gary, which I'm part of, I'm going to lead off with coverage of a movie that you are part of. The short horror movie, which is a proof of concept for a full-length sequel to He Knows, has just hit YouTube this week. Directed by Stephen Morris, both you and your wife have cameos in it. Of course you knew that, but I'm saying this for the viewers. You can check out She Knows on YouTube now, and the link to it will be included in the title cards at the end of this video and in the details section of the video listing. An interesting report was recently released about what types of movies are the most popular. It was based on web searches, and according to the report, horror movies are the most popular genre in the United States. Getting back to the put the spooky back into Christmas theme for a moment, if you missed Terrifier 3 at the theater, you still have a chance to experience it on the big screen. That's because the movie is returning to movie screens for Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. It had originally been scheduled for a Christmas release, but then switched to October. Given that the movie takes place around Christmas, it makes a lot of sense for it to return to theaters on that date. If you're a fan of horror movie interpretations of public domain characters, next year should be a good one for you. That's because Popeye the Slayer Man will be released. Yeah, that's the Slayer Man, not the Sailor Man. The movie is said to focus on a haunting based in and around an old spinach canning factory. Next, we'll turn to a new version of an old horror classic. We're talking about the Ghoulies franchise. It was revealed a while ago that some of the original team responsible for the films was looking to reboot the series. Well, news has come out that the actor who played the villain in those movies, rocker Michael DeBar, might be coming back for the new films. It could be interesting for fans of the original run. Speaking of new movies in a familiar franchise, news recently came out about a new Evil Dead movie. Evil Dead Burn is apparently the working title of the next film in that series. The movie is planned for release sometime in 2026. Continuing with the franchise theme, the next movie in the Final Destination series has been announced. It will be called Final Destination Bloodlines. Warner Brothers and New Line Cinema have set a release date of May 16th, 2025 for the next installment. Well, that's it for the movie news, so I'll send it back to you, Gary.
Thanks for that news, DB. Continuing on from movie type news, with the new Robert Eggers version of Nosferatu due in theaters on Christmas, you can now get an unusual tie-in product. You can buy your own full-size sarcophagus bed designed as a replica of Count Orlok's sarcophagus. You can pre-order your bed now at NBCstore.com and expect to receive it in February. Be prepared, though, because it will cost you $20,000. If you want some cool spooky merchandise but don't want to spend thousands, maybe a new offering from Spirit Halloween will be more your thing. They have released an exclusive online post-Halloween animatronic of Frankenstein's monster. It stands well over 6 feet tall and is licensed by Universal and resembles the Boris Karloff version of the creature. You can order it now for less than $300. Turning to the small screen, a new image of Wednesday Addams has been released by Netflix. The image was put out in honor of the fact that Season 2 of the series, Wednesday, has wrapped production, so it's sort of a teaser for the debut of that series of episodes. No date has been announced for the actual release, though. Now we'll turn things back over to DB Lovecraft for some comic book news.
Thanks, Gary. We have 2 pieces of comic book news. First, the band Ghost are part of a new 4-issue comic book short run. The Sister Imperator title will be co-written by Ghost frontman Tobias Forge, and it will be coming from Dark Horse Comics, and the first issue will hit stores on March 5th. The next piece of comic news comes from Marvel and is a little less definite. Horror comic writer James Tynion IV recently revealed that he would like to do an X-Men horror comic. The X-Men would clearly be well suited for horror, so it might be interesting to see if they make that happen or not. Only time will tell, though. Now back to you, Gary.
That brings us to the end of our actual news items, but as we always do, we'll be going over some dates on our spooky calendar. Before we do that, though, I want to talk to you again about the standard announcements one more time. First, if you want more information on any of the things we talk about here, there are 2 places you can find that information. You'll find all the source and more information URLs as title cards after we're done talking at the end of this video. You can also find those links in the details section here. Next, Spooky Ventures, and especially this YouTube channel, is supposed to be interactive. So please interact. You can do that by liking our videos, sharing them, and commenting. You can also do that by subscribing to our channel. Now I'll turn it over to DB Lovecraft for a look at the dates on our spooky calendar. DB, can you tell the viewers what the calendar is and where they can find it before you get to the actual dates?
Thanks, Gary. The Spooky Ventures events calendar lists dates that should be of interest to fans of all things spooky. You can always find it by going to the main page at spookyventures.com and scrolling down to the bottom of the page where you'll find the link to the calendar. Looking into that calendar, we find 3 movies opening today. Those films are The Monster Beneath Us, The Activated Man, and When It Rains in L.A. Christmas Day will see Robert Eggers' version of Nosferatu hitting movie screens. That same day would have been Rod Serling's birthday. That brings us to the end of the dates on the calendar for this time, but I'd like to wish all the viewers a happy holiday season. Now back to you, Gary.
That wraps us up for another month for spooky news. Here's hoping you enjoy your holidays, whatever holiday you celebrate. Also, don't forget you can get all sorts of Spooky Ventures merchandise in our Cafe Press store at cafepress.com/shop/spookyventures. Also, remember to put the spooky into your Christmas celebration, and we'd also like to wish you a Happy New Year. We'll see you next month for our first spooky news show of 2025. In the meantime, remember, spooky is a lifestyle, not a season, so always keep it spooky. Spooky Ventures is the home for spooky content and spooky merchandise on the web. Check it out today at spookyventures.com. And remember, always keep it spooky.